Namaste and a very warm welcome from Apollo Hospitals. This is Dr. Srinidhi Chidambaram here. Today's conversation from Apollo is about something that concerns every Indian, not illness, not hospitals, not treatment after things go wrong. Today, we are talking about health before illness begins. Every year, millions of Indians undergo preventive health checks or master health checks, as they're called, to answer one simple question: am I healthy? For many years, all that meant was a few blood tests, blood pressure, sugar, cholesterol, maybe a bit of a clinical examination. All of that is important, but Apollo's Health of the Nation report 2026 tells us something even more important and something very clearly, that this is no longer enough. Because many of the biggest health risks that we face today are silent. A person may feel completely fine, their blood test may look acceptable, they may have no symptoms at all, but yet hidden risks may be already building. Heart may have silent plaque, liver may have fatty changes even when the liver enzymes are normal, blood sugar risk may be developing quietly, mental health concerns may remain unspoken. This is why Apollo's Pro Health program looked deeper. It did not stop with routine blood tests. It measured hidden risk. It looked at the heart, the liver, the gut, the mind, and the body function. It studied women's health across life stages. It tracked what happened to people who looked healthy the previous year. And the data changed what we thought we knew about ourselves. The sixth edition of the Apollo Health of the Nation 2026 reveals a very different story of India's health. One of the most striking findings being that by the age of 40, a small percentage of people only remain completely disease free. This matters for students, for young working adults, for parents, women, and all age groups. Matters for families, for people caring for their families and postponing their own health. Matters to every household in India. So, to help us to decode this powerful finding and the many more powerful findings in the Health of the Nation Report 2026, I'm delighted to welcome two very eminent doctors. Dr. Anupam Sibal, who is the Group Medical Director and a very eminent and senior pediatrician of our country and Apollo Hospitals, and Dr. Srividya Venkatraman, who's the Medical Director of Preventive Health Services at Apollo Hospitals. Dr. Anupam Sibal, Professor Sibal, is the Group Medical Director of Apollo Hospitals Group, which is, of course, India's largest healthcare provider. And he has been a pediatrician for more than 30 years. He has established the Division of Pediatric Gastroenterology and Hepatology from 1997 at Apollo Hospitals, New Delhi, helped to set up the first successful pediatric liver transplant program at Apollo, on the editorial board of 3 journals with 171 publications, also edited a textbook of pediatric gastroenterology, hepatology, and nutrition, and best-selling author of Is Your Child Ready to Face the World, which is a national bestseller. Thank you, Dr. Sibyl, for joining us. And Dr. Srividya Venkatraman is the medical director of Preventive Health Services at Apollo Hospitals, with over 20 plus years of experience in internal medicine, expert in preventive health, diabetology, and in women's health. She has played a key role in several preventive health initiatives and contributed significantly to pandemic response efforts in Tamil Nadu. Welcome, doctors. We're so glad to have you with us. I'm going to first ask you, Dr. Sibyl, with one of the most surprising findings in this Health of the Nation report. For years, we all believed that lifestyle diseases, that is diabetes, obesity, fatty liver, heart disease, were all problems of the 50s and 60s. But this report shows something very different. Risks appearing in the 20s, more than half of under 30s already overweight, and even among college students, nearly 2 in 3 had some health finding. This is quite startling. So, what is happening to young India? Why are health risks showing up so early, even before many people are actually feeling unwell?
Thank you very much, Smriti. I'm delighted to be a part of this initiative along with Dr. Srividya. So, what we are seeing is that risk is arriving in the 20s, not the 60s, as most people believed. We all thought that chronic disease is something that happens to you in your 50s, 60s, or even 70s. And what we have with our report is that it basically challenges this completely. And this is based on pretty hard data, large data. When we screened over 100,000 people under 30, more than half of them were overweight with abnormal cholesterols. 1 in 5 were pre-diabetic, and these were people who feel absolutely fine. What really struck us was the college data. We screened more than 20,000 students across 13 colleges through the Apollo Shine Foundation, and 2 in 3 already had a finding that needed attention. These are 17 to 25-year-olds, and they are assumed to be at their physical peak. And this is the part that matters most. Among under 3 pre diabetics who took action, 28% reversed to normal. So that is very heartening. But among those over 50, only 7% did. So you have the same condition, the same intervention, but completely different outcomes. And this is very important to realize. The only difference here was when was it caught, when was it detected, and what initiatives were started at the right time. This is the reason why screening in the 20s is not early. It's exactly on time. Our lifestyles have changed. We eat differently, we sleep differently, we work differently. There are several stressors that have come into our lives. The work environment has changed. There's a fair amount of peer pressure. And all this is resulting in some of these non communicable diseases manifesting silently at a much earlier age, and we should not be waiting for the very obvious manifestations that, of course, will appear with time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Sipil. Dr. Srividya, I just wanted to next highlight one more interesting finding in the Health of the Nation report, which says that women's health risks are not the same at every age group. A woman in her 20s, in her 40s, around menopause, postmenopausal, all have completely different risk patterns. The report shows that B12 deficiency, peaking in younger women, which is unfortunate, which is also the reproductive years for them, central obesity becoming very common by the 40s, and diabetes risk also significantly increasing across menopause. So, why do then women need life stage based health checks? And what would you like to tell women and their families about their health risks and understanding these risks, and then also the fact that these health risks are not the same across age groups?
Thank you, Dr. Srinidhi. I mean, this is very, very interesting to bring out some different aspect of health of the nation. Uh, Year on year, were only comparing the different NCDs. This time we went into the gender specificity of this also. And we realized that the first differentiation is that a male behaves differently and a women behaves differently. In that women itself, we realize that 20s, 40s, and 60s is what the breakup we have taken is that in today's time, a grandmom, when she developed diabetes at the age of 60, she is handing over the baton of diabetes or the NCDs to her daughter probably when she is going to cross menopause at around 45 or 50. But that lady who is developing diabetes at the age of 45, 50 has already handed over the baton to her daughter when she has given birth at the age of maybe 20, 25. So the ovaries carry your genetic proposition, and our lifestyles are becoming more and more sedentary, more and more stressful. The demand on a woman in her 20s is multiple. I mean, we are taking multitasking to a different level, where this woman between the age of 20 and 30 is not only handling a professional life, she's also continuing to carry over the whole personal spectrum. And that level of stress in which a woman moves from pre-diabetes, obesity, and does not prioritize herself ends up in early diabetes. And the minute she becomes diabetic at the age of 40, it is all no bets there. I mean, they are as equal to their male counterpart for developing NCDs. So, if we do not stage wise look at the risk factors, we are going to be just adding it to the dominoes effect. And so by the time she's 50, she's got a full blown triple NCDs of hypertension, obesity, and diabetes.
Dr. Sybil, many of us feel very reassured when our lab blood reports come normal. In fact, that's the first thing you look at in your WhatsApp or in your mail, and then you're within the range and you're reassured. But this report that we have got, the Health of the Nation, shows that this may not tell the whole story. For most people, especially with things like fatty liver, where there could be normal liver enzymes and the early fatty changes could be missed, or coronary artery disease, where there could be calcification happening without any symptoms or any blood markers. Depression may be detected in people who never even spoke about it. So, are we depending too much on this routine blood tests as some sort of a proof, a paper of good health? What are the hidden risks that we have that standard health checks can miss? And this question I do ask for people who undergo these unstandardized health checks throughout the country, where everything is called a master health check, but then one never really looks into what goes into them.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a great point. We need to look beyond blood tests. Just getting your blood tests done does not in any way equal what a comprehensive preventive health check is supposed to do for a person. I mean, fatty liver is a good example. Among the nearly 50,000 people with ultrasound confirmed fatty liver, 74%, a staggering 74%, had completely normal liver enzymes. So, if you just look at blood tests, they think it's fine, but, you do an ultrasound and you see a fatty liver. So a standard blood test would have told them that everything's fine. And an ultrasound, which is simple, non-invasive, no radiation, takes only a few minutes, costs very little, got it. Let's take the heart. About 1,100 asymptomatic people who underwent coronary calcium scoring, 45% had calcification already forming. No symptoms, normal ECG, doing well, normal blood test, and a calcium score revealed what years of routine checks might have missed. Look at mental health, extremely important. You don't really pick up mental health issues in a blood test. Among the 115,000 people we screened during routine checks, and this is not a psychiatric visit, I must highlight. 1 in 15 had depression, 1 in 10 had anxiety, 1 in 5 were high risk for sleep apnea, all from what is a 2-minute questionnaire. And none of this would have surfaced on a blood panel or as comprehensive the blood panel might be. So the message here is not that blood tests are not useful, they are. The message is that blood tests alone are not enough. You need a comprehensive health check, and this means a proper history, a detailed, comprehensive history, not just about physical ailments, about who you are as a person, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what stresses you. A proper physical examination. For example, if you have some lymph nodes in your axilla, in your armpits, you're not going to pick them up if you don't specifically look through a comprehensive physical exam. Mental health screening, extremely critical, quite often ignored. Of course, imaging when needed, and this might be an ultrasound, it might be beyond that. So, this is how you pick up stuff, and this is how things that remain hidden actually come to surface.
This brings me to one of the most interesting and unique aspect of this year's Health of the Nation report, Dr. Srividya. It addresses some newer dimensions of health, as Dr. Sybil was saying. It looks at mental health screening. It looks at function, that is functional health, how you move, how your posture is, how your balance is. So important in early assessment of disease. Looks at the gut microbiome. And it also brings out one important thing about this HbA1c, which everybody knows now, but then we understand is not reliable in people who are anemic. Now, the whole idea of all these dimensions and the newer aspects that you have addressed, could you please explain to us why these are necessary? Why should we go beyond? Okay, even if we go beyond blood tests, we had imaging, we had ultrasound, but we are now going further than that. So, do we need all this to really understand our health?
So we are moving beyond the spectrum of what we define as non-communicable disease to lifestyle diseases. In the lifestyle diseases, it is as important to ensure that your mental health is good, your sleep is good, your gut is good, and your physique is good. So all these four are the foundation of a good health. People are fit but still are not healthy because they don't know some of these parameters. A lot many time we were writing of irritable bowel syndrome. I'm sure Dr. Anupam will also agree to it. Like everybody has, but now we realize when we go down to the level as to why do I have craving? Why do I have lactogen intolerance? Why do I have gluten intolerance? And this is explained by gut microbiome testing. What does the gut microbiome tell? It tells the genetic composition of our gut, or not our genetic, the genetic composition of the bugs which are there, and there are some good bugs, and we need those good bugs to prevent NCDs, to break down the food into a small chain amino acid, to take away the cholesterol and things like that and all. What came surprisingly, and we have been analyzing it for the last 2 years, though the numbers are very small, it is very surprising that Indian bugs or Indian gut microbiome actually is behaving differently from that of the European or the Caucasian data which is available, which means that if we say that this particular bug is responsible for diabetes in the American, that is not true for Indian bug. We also see that there is something called as microbial diversity. The expectation is that at least 5 of these pro and prebiotic bugs have to be there. And the minute this starts dropping, the NCD starts increasing. That means your chances of developing diabetes, your chance of developing cholesterol, obesity is very, very high. And this has nothing to do with your gut symptoms. There is also something called as gut-brain axis. Abnormal gut movement, abnormal dysbiosis is what we call as, is associated with anxiety, depression, early dementia. I mean, these two, just to name a few, and we are still, all this gut microbiome analysis is work in progress. We're still not there. But these are some of the confounding factors which have come out. The thing which you asked about, the anemia and HbA1c, HbA1c, let us be very clear, remains the gold standard for control of diabetes. But there are 2 to 3% of a population who have what we call as either abnormal hemoglobin in which the HbA1c is not detected. Then we need to depend on the blood sugar or the fructosamine level. But apart from that, there is this sect of women, especially, who are anemic. Anemic women will have unexpectedly higher HbA1c. It is inversely proportionate because of the metabolism of RBC in which. So it's too technical to discuss, but people who have anemia will have abnormally high HbA1c. We need to correct the anemia first to get the correct HbA1c control. So if their sugars are normal, but the HbA1c is high, we should not overtreat the diabetes. They will end up with hypoglycemia. We need to ensure that we are correcting their anemia, which comes to iron and B12 deficiency, which is very, very common in Indian women. And the fourth thing is the functional medicine. Functional medicine is the new baby in town. And FSB is one part of it, which is flexibility, strength, and balance. Along with the gut and the newer imagings is what we are looking at longevity and wellness in pro health. And that is one thing which is again, which says that it is not just enough for you to be healthy, your lab parameters, but if your joints are stiff, you are not able to reach behind your back, you're not able to move correctly, that means there is so many other things in your body to be fixed other than your lab reports.
Interesting. Dr. Sybil, I wanted to also highlight one of the most hopeful, reassuring findings that we got in the Health of the Nation report, that around 30% of people are still in what we call the golden window, which means they don't have a disease diagnosis, but there are these early warning signs that are already visible. And this is such an important idea. Really, the only reason why somebody should be doing a health check, because that is what we have to find, and that is what we have to correct. So what is this actually clinically? What does this golden window mean? And what are these early signs that will make a biggest difference between actual diagnosis of diabetes or hypertension or heart disease or even cancer are made.
Srinidhi, this is really very positive in terms of the finding. 30% of the people we screened were still in what we call the golden window. 16% were non-communicable diseases free and had healthy weight. Another 14% were non-communicable disease free but were already obese. So you really need to address this subgroup. 5% weight loss, just say 4 kilograms for a 80 kilogram person improves sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, liver fat altogether. Every single kilogram lost reduces diabetes risk by 16%. And that's huge. The diabetes prevention program showed a 58% reduction in diabetes with lifestyle intervention alone, which again is very heartening. And what is very important that we need to always realize why this window is so important. See, if we look at by 30, 1 in 4 individuals are disease free. By 40, it's only 7%. So look at the steep increase from 30 to 40. And by 60, it'll be less than 1 in 20 individuals was absolutely healthy. The window closes year by year. The 14% who are non-communicable disease free but obese are the most critical group. They have no diagnosis today, but they will if we don't intervene. And a small change now prevents the first diagnosis. A missed opportunity here means they will join the 70% who already have conditions. So this is something that we must appreciate, realize, and take home. This is not about fear. It's about timing. And for 30% of the people in our data, the time is now. It's today.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sizzle. Dr. Srividya, I wanted to ask you about also the nature of the data. So this is very powerful because it's not just looking at one single point or a 1 year's data. It is a longitudinal study of over the years. So the data also shows that when the weight first begins to tip, go up, then the sugars change, and then there's a pre-diabetes, and then the risks start to stack up. And by the age of 40, only that small proportion remain disease-free. It's like really watching the dominoes fall slowly or something stacking up. I'd rather call it falling slowly. What did the longitudinal data reveal? That a one-time health would not show up. So what is the importance of, again, what would be the message for people watching this that this kind of follow-up data is important?
So we realized that when we were looking at the last, I mean, Apollo has the fortune of having almost 40 years of health check now. But on the HIS and the the electronic medical record, we have around 10 to 12 years of data. And we've started doing Health of the Nation for the last 6 years. We've realized that an average person does a health check every 18 months. And they do it with the hope that I have this 18 months, or like, let me take this 1 year to bring down my weight. Let me take this 1 year to shift my pre-diabetes from 5.7 to back to the normal, because 5.7 is our cutoff. But what we realized is that if it is not acted upon, the 18 months when they come back, that 5.7 marker has gone to 6.4. The weight has, the BMI, which was probably 26, has gone to 28. And we realize that we are sleeping less. So every year on year, that is what our tracking is showing. And this is something which we see. But what we need, people live in denial. We need it in that graph, in the green, red, yellow marking, which says that, yes, your things, LDL moves. I mean, it very moves very gradually from 120 to 130 to 159. And then you say, oh my God, I'm at 159, but my total cholesterol is still 200, because it is the LDL which is moving. It is a triglyceride which is moving. Though we say triglyceride is not a very, urgent thing. We panic when the triglyceride goes up. It reflects your sugars. Uric acid reflects it. So these are the small things, and it is indolent. But if we are able to track it right from the first, we have taken the data of 3 consecutive health checks, and we see that, like Dr. Sibal said, the weight is the first parameter. And today's generation, the minute we start talking about weight, they say you're body shaming me or you're gaslighting me. But obesity is a disease. It is being connected to sleep apnea. It is being connected to multiple cancers like breast cancer and ovarian cancer in women. adding on to the layer of lifestyle sluggishness. So we are not going to, we're not going to change unless there is a 360 change in our cultural, our mindset.
Right. I'm going to end the session by two rapid fire questions, one to each one of you to quickly answer. So, Dr. Srividya, if someone who's listening today has said, okay, now you have said the clock is ticking, what should I do in the next 30 days to change my health?
Stop sugars. All form of sugars are bad. Hydration of 3 liters. Stick to 7 to 10,000 steps per day. Bring down your sleep cycle into as much normalcy as possible. Cut down your screen time.
And Dr. Sybil, I wanted to ask you, how do we make sure that people have seen this not as frightening data, but as truly empowering information?
Srinidhi, the World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And I think we need to focus on this, not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. So we really need to look at health holistically. We have to change the narrative. Ask anyone, and I do this at conferences, when was the last time you had your car serviced or your mobile serviced, and all the hands go up. We get our car serviced regularly because preventive maintenance is important. But ask the same group, when was the last time you saw a doctor when you were healthy, when you weren't really down with fever or a cold or a cough, and hardly 20% of the hands go up. So our body, which is priceless, is not as important as a car or as a mobile. Now, isn't that sad? Why do we have to wait for a breakdown? The time is now to bring our health center stage. We have to change the narrative. It must change. And the time for change is now. Yes, really.
Thank you, Dr. This has been an extremely important conversation. So, to summarize, the Apollo Health of the Nation Report 2026 has given us some important take home messages. A blood test may be normal and still miss important warning signs about your health. A young person is not automatically a risk free and healthy person. Women's health risks may change dramatically across life stages. By the time a disease is diagnosed, the earliest signs may have been present for years. But these are all not examples to induce fear. They are stories and moments of opportunity that we have laid out for each one of you, because what is detected early can be changed early, can be reversed. So, for every person listening today, do not wait for symptoms to start caring for your health. Do not wait for a diagnosis to make changes. Do not assume that feeling fine means everything is fine. Your body gives signals early. The question is whether we are taking heed and listening to it. Please do download and read the full Health of the Nation Report 2026 in the link that is given below, either in the bio or in your description. And thank you, doctors. Thank you so much again for joining this Decoding the Health of the Nation 2026 talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much.